studio is the big man. It looks very simple, but looks are deceptive. Let me tell you, because this big man here, Harrison,
he's a big man. So Harrison, and we're done like a basis on how to start your tech company, but
right.
I mean, of course, there's something about the fourth revolution that we want to talk about first. But go on.
All right. So starting a tech company is actually very interesting. It's a very interesting journey, and I don't like to talk about it, especially when it regards the African climb. But I think we're going to have a conversation around that some other time. Well, because before we even talk about starting a tech company, I'm looking at something which is quite daunting. And what's that? I believe a lot of people within Nigeria and by extension sub-Saharan Africa are not fully prepared for the fourth industrial revolution, which is already here to stay with us, right? And I'm always glad to actually be on tech spaces with what's it called again? Super 92.7 FM, right? And most times when I'm here, it's almost like you're bringing the future to now, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, but this is where you will know that I'm not a tech person at all. And even the business space, like I'm a creative. Not see,
like 100% creative.
100% and then some. Now, the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
What is that for someone who's just listening and wondering?
All right.
Because we don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll probably walk us through the stages, what I want to call, although it's not directly relatable, but the genealogy of industrial revolution. So
that's why this is tech spaces. Techs will understand.
So I'll start from the first to the fourth. All right. So if you just work with me, right?
Okay.
So, first industrial revolution, we started with mechanization, right? About the 1700s to 1800s ish, right? So imagine when we're going to start, doing mechanized farming. Most of us were not born then.
Yeah.
No. The bulk of us were not born then. All of us, I dare say, 1700s.
So 1700, 1800-ish. So that was the first industrial revolution. So when you want to think about things like mechanized farming, industrialization in terms of having combustion engines and the likes, right? So that's what gave birth to things like that.
Beginning of the beginning.
Yeah, that's the very beginning. That's where. So let me walk back a little. Just how technology even started.
Okay.
Of course, how technology started. The first technology ever that humankind would experience is what I call the stone tools. Stone tools. What's the stone tools? Imagine Mr. Caveman. Someone called Mr. Caveman in the cave. He was cold and trying to keep himself warm. And while he was trying to keep himself warm, he started playing with stones, and all of a sudden, he saw a spark. Now imagine his friend ran out, came back with dry grass, and then, of course, that's
a fire.
With fire. So that's like the first human technology. Of course, technology is just trying to make ourselves better, our lives better, and all of that. So that now, imagine we've worked on all of our crafts and all of that. But then again, we now needed to make it better, right? That give birth to the first industrial revolution, right? And afterwards, because we now have a very solid foundation, the human mind would always want something better. We had to go further a little, and then we went into, say, 1800s, 1900s-ish. We now went into the second industrial revolution, which is now the electricity stage. This is where we now have things like
the light
bulb, yes.
Of course, that's when it now gave people the rise and helped the companies like the Henry Ford's company to make better businesses, right?
Yeah.
After the second industrial revolution, which is 1800 to 1900-ish, we got into the third industrial revolution. Now, the third industrial revolution is very interesting. Actually, the third industrial revolution is now what gave birth to the fourth industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution, that's when we now had things like the internet, computers, home having PCs and all of that, right? So that, and microprocessors, semiconductors, things like that, which now gave birth to the fourth industrial revolution.
So how many years, what year did the third revolution start? 1900s to 2000s. Okay.
Right. So now, this is in ESG, environmental and sustainability and governance, right? There's something called the wicked problem. I think I've analyzed the wicked problem.
Not with us.
No, it's not me.
Okay.
First of all,
wicked problem.
You need to see us in the studio. We look like children
that have been
listening
taught
to a story that is so interesting, and we're so engulfed with it. But yes, the what?
Wicked problem.
Wicked problem.
So wicked problem is a problem that you solve, but causes another problem.
There's a problem like that. A problem that you solve that causes
I don't
another
want to-
problem.
because this is not ESG
No,
conversation.
I
We're
like,
talking
no.
about-
Why
Let me
not
tell
if
you why
not?
this is important. For a lot of people who are older, when we think about tech, we think about it as something from all these young people, all these today people. But it did start from, like you said, the first revolution to
second
the
revolution.
second to the third and we're the fourth. So that history is so important for somebody who's trying to understand why all of this tech stuff, why all these younger people are just doing all these things tech. So I like that you're explaining it gradually. Please continue. We're enjoying it.
All right. So the wicked problem that the third industrial revolution now caused, now because we now have too much data outside, right? We now have internet. So because we have internet, we have too much of our data, like I said, outside. They now give birth to things like an industry called the big data. Right. So that now give birth to big data, and with big data came another problem,
Okay.
which is network security. So what happens is that because you have too much data outside, nobody's secured, right?
Okay.
So now give birth to industries like, of course, we have the big data. Big data gave birth to data science, data analytics, and the likes. And then, of course, to protect this data, it gave birth to things like cybersecurity.
Okay. Okay. Now
Language you
now
can
I guess that's
understand.
exactly that one I understand.
Right, so the third industrial revolution is just
Digital.
digitization. Please pardon me.
Digitization.
Yes.
It's a mouthful. Yes.
Yeah, it's just
Understandably
that.
so.
So basically, think of things like e-commerce, Facebook, Twitter. When all of this started, was just digitization era. That's still the third industrial revolution.
But to think that the third and fourth industrial revolution, they're quite close.
Yeah.
Because 1700s to 1800s was the entire first phase. Second phase was 1900s to
1800s
to
and 1900s.
and then we had from 1900s to
2000.
2000. But now this is just 25 years into the third revolution, and we're already at the fourth.
No,
Yeah.
wait. Think about it. Sorry, I want to use my layman. listen to it.
All right.
It's
But
short.
no, but think about it. In the early 2000s, the world between the early 2000s and now is such a miles
massive.
away. The world has evolved like we're in a
faster.
speedy
Quick.
revolution
Yeah, it's
time.
quick.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
please continue.
because how the human mind actually adopts things faster as we grow. Okay, think about it this way. Imagine the kids that were born in early 2000, compare them to the kids that were born around 2015, 2016, compare their level of intelligence. So because of that, we have to actually create technologies that would
Match up.
benchmark or
Okay.
match up with them as we grow faster.
Yeah.
Right? So I was talking about how we now got into the fourth industrial
Yes.
revolution.
Yes, please.
Now, beautifully, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. Google is moving. We have Google search is moving into AI search. Right?
Yes,
We have,
Meta, what have
Of
you.
course, we have social media is now moving into let's call it the big data space, because now businesses are now thinking of not just making business decisions from intuition and from hunches, but
From
to use data and
Yeah.
insights. So what is the fourth industrial revolution? The fourth industrial revolution is simply automation, artificial intelligence, data analytics, which is of course an extension of big data, and then of course robotics, process automation. These are the kind of things you find in the fourth industrial revolution. Remember I said in the third industrial revolution you find things like e-commerce, you
Yes.
find things like social media,
And
you find
then-
things like the internet. Of course the internet doesn't now give birth to what we have in the fourth
The wicked
industrial
problem.
AI.
Might
So we
see
now
that.
have things. Of course, we now have things like Internet of Things. So we don't just have only Internet of human beings. We now have
Internet of Things.
So where, for example, you can be
Wow.
here and turn off your cooker if you probably forgot to turn
Yeah.
it
I'm
Yes.
home. This is
Right.
so, oh
This-
my
this-
gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wild.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
It
It's,
is beautiful.
wild.
Beautiful. Yes, beautifully wild.
Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
thinking to myself, like, how possible it is. Okay, now, because of the big. During the second into the third, because I'm trying to put mix and match some of the things that we had in the second or the third revolution
And
and,
how
the
they've
fourth,
evolved.
and how they've evolved.
Yeah.
The phone. Now,
exactly.
with a phone, before now it was the landline. What was it? It was
I
it was
don't
the
like when you
Rotary
mention it.
line.
rotary line, and then the landline, and then we had the normal small phones where
Yeah.
you can reach out to somebody within a country or within a state, and then you now went wild to the country, and then outside Nigeria, you can literally call your sister who's abroad and say, "Hi, what's up? I want to see what you look like," and then you can see.
That's where we are at.
That's
now.
where we're at the moment, and now we can turn off our gas cooker in the house if I forgot to do that.
You know, she just
That is wild.
This when you just talked about the phone, when we had the first, portable phones, mobile phones, and how all we could do was send a text or make a call or play that snake game.
Snake
That's all.
Enzia.
I don't
Snake
like what you guys
Enzia.
are doing, yeah.
No, what is the
Nostalgic,
truth?
right?
Snake
I
Enzia.
know.
Nostalgic.
But it's so important to see how far we have come.
Yeah.
And it didn't just start yesterday.
No.
We lived in the time of rotary phones and then the block one of boom, 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 boom,
like the one
boom. And
here.
now here we are. They're still important. No, this
Yeah.
one actually can take like 5, 6 to
Call-
7 lines.
At
That
once.
one was
One line.
All he did was take a call and drop a call. That is all. Wow. Wow. Tech.
Okay.
Harrison is talking to us about the fourth industrial revolution and getting yourself ready for the fourth industrial revolution. Before we even get into now in the fourth industrial revolution, I want to be a tech somebody. I want to start a tech business.
You have to know
Calm
these
down.
things. You have
Okay.
to know and we don't have enough time to even bask in this.
This fourth industrial revolution and the importance of getting on board and updating yourself for it.
All right, that's a very beautiful thing because I believe, in fact, that's what actually I thought about when I said we should talk about that first, right? Because like I said, Nigeria and by its extension, Sub-Saharan Africa, we're not really prepared. Africa as a continent is probably not prepared, but maybe Africans and Nigerians are prepared. So it's more like we are looking at creating enabling environment eventually. So preparing for the fourth industrial revolution, like I said, there are certain skill sets that you must have, right? In the third industrial revolution, you probably want to learn how to do digital marketing. You want to learn how to, do your Microsoft Word, Excel. Then if you knew how, I want to paint a very weird mental picture. Imagine how it,
You
how
have
it
been
was.
doing that since, but go on.
Imagine how it was when, like say early 2000s, when you want to install your software on your computer. A very weird guy, weird-looking guy is going to come with his big jean and big shoes, with beards all over him, and he comes in. And he tells you when he wants to fix that stuff, he tells you, please step out. Everybody step out. He locks the door, locks himself inside for like 2-3 hours, and then fixes it. But in this revolution, you literally just download that same software online.
The revolution right after that was CDs.
I'm talking
No,
about
he's
even
talking
within
about the
this
fact that
period.
when it all
when
started,
internet came up and all of that.
you said that, and I thought about how large the CPU used to be.
Let's not
And
go-
diskettes, using
go too far.
And the
diskettes before the
Let's not
discs.
go
No,
too
far.
diskettes
before the discs.
disc.
Yeah, I remember how we used to use that. Thank God I stayed in that generation.
I know,
How
because
how
it makes
we
you
used to do that.
appreciate even more how tech
Exactly,
has
exactly.
evolved. And of course, the fourth
Funny thing,
revolution.
I have a kiddo who stays with me who has never been to the bank. He doesn't want to get into the bank, but he owns a bank account. I transfers money and all of that. So that's how
We're getting
we
there.
are. No, that's where,
where we're
that's
at the
we
moment.
are, right? Actually, so preparing for the fourth industrial revolution. Let me just put it out there. There are skill sets that are needed. I
Yes.
was talking about the fact that you had to learn maybe HR and all of that then, or you probably have to be a technician, you have to know how to repair combustion engines. I was talking about the IT guy who
Yes.
comes into your, that was the skill set of them.
Then.
But now, what we are looking forward to is automation, people who can do robotics process automation, people who can build chatbots, people who can build agentic AIs, people who can do data analytics, and they'll tell better storytelling or do better storytelling using data and dashboards. Concerning that, can I just quickly say something
Yes,
about
yes,
that?
yes, yes.
Right. So we started an NGO recently in I think sometime last year.
Okay.
So as it's an NGO, so because of that, we train people for free most times, right? So we are having a one-day program that is going to teach people about how to tell better data storytelling using Power BI. Power BI is a tool created by Microsoft, right? It's called Power Business Intelligence. So we're going to
Wow.
tell you how to create intelligent dashboard, how to create dashboards that will tell better story. Because basically, I've interacted with a lot of C-suite executives, business owners, and I see when you're telling them the stories, they'll be like, can I just see the graph? You understand? So we just want to look at the summary statistics. We are tired of you just looking at the numbers. Just tell us the summary statistics. So that's what we'll be teaching, guys. And actually, it's happening on Good Friday.
Even better.
Yeah, it's actually happening on Good Friday. So that's our way to probably celebrate
The death of our Lord
You know
Jesus
one thing I
Christ.
love about Harrison? Harrison doesn't just know tech; he shares tech, and I love. I'm passionate, and I fell in love with the way that you explain things. Like because, especially for tech guys, you use a lot of slangs that only you guys
Some
understand.
jargons, yeah.
Jargons and gibberish. No disrespect for y'all, but to hear, to bring someone who brings it down to earth. We love it, love it, love it, love it. So you're adding value by giving people this learning for free.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you to follow him, follow Harrison on his social media handles, DM him to ask for how you can be a part of that training, because he's adding value.
That's
and he's
right.
adding value for free. So as a family, we celebrate that. We push for that. Anything that can make the family a better place, we're all about it. So what's your handle again?
So before I even tell you about my handle, I'm a very bad person when it comes to social media. I've said it countless times here. I don't even because most
The
times
irony.
yeah, because when I'm on my computer, the next thing I'm thinking about is an agentic AI or a data
Something
science.
else.
So I'm not
Sorry,
looking at-
tech
I'm not looking at
tech
social
guru.
media, right?
But LinkedIn is something that
of
you're
course,
going to be on.
LinkedIn is fine.
Yes.
Harrison Yakubu, and I prefer most times to just chat me up directly.
Okay.
Because if you go to my LinkedIn, I might not reply to you.
Okay, I mean, is there a number for them to
right,
chat with
of
you?
course,
Oh,
they will
fantastic.
harass
Let's
you.
let's
no,
do.
no problems. I have people to attend to them. It's not
Okay.
an issue. So
Okay,
I'm
I'm
not
good with
just
that.
so just so you know. Let me put it out there. Shout out to my team. It's not just me. I have a whole lot of guys that are working with me to ensure that this dream comes to reality. Just let me
Fantastic.
just put it out there for those that are listening. It's a personal story that I want to share with people. Right. First and foremost, do I have the time to share about 2 stories? Short story.
1 minute ish.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yes.
All right. So let me just share one of the stories, and then of
We
course
can
the
do
other
one next week.
So while I was growing up, of course we grew up during the era of cybercrime.
Right.
Right, a lot of people went into cybercrime,
Yes.
which I am not happy about. I have a very, it's a very sad thing for me. Let me tell you why. Now, I remember we used to have cyber cafes, and people go to cyber cafes.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's how
true.
Yahoo
Of
started.
course, right? So I'm asking myself, most times when I go past those cyber cafes, when I see those places where the cyber cafes were, I'm asking myself this question: where are the cyber cafes today? They're gone, right? But while our people were busy getting into cyber crime, places like Silicon Valley and of course China and the likes,
We're
right?
updating.
They're basically building tech stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So in my mind, I'm thinking, can we do something differently now? Which is why I'm trying as much as possible, together with the NGO we just formed, which is Data Science Club. We are trying as much as possible to ensure that we rewire, because the scripture says it starts with the renewal of your mind.
True
So
that.
to begin to change the mindset of people and tell them, of course, this thing is possible. You're going to spend the same time trying to do cybercrime. Why not spend the same time doing something
For
productive?
inattention
Just
to-
like Peter Obi would say, from consumption to production.
What is the number?
070-5298-8306.
Say that one more time, please.
070-5298-8306.
If you're
Because, I mean,
listening,
I-
I
I
hope
was
you've
just-
gotten that.
I hope. Oh, 0705-298-8306.
Yeah.
That's the number to call. I mean, even when you just said this regarding the conversation around cyber cafe and cyber crimes and all, how some of these young men are going into cyber crime. William Suchemba did a video. It's like the amount of time that you spend asking that person or doing all the cyber crime activities.
use it to
If you
achieve a
focus
lot.
on tech, you can actually get a lot of things out of it.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for that club that you have put together. You can call him, send him a WhatsApp message, 0705-2988-306. Yes, fantastic.
And he started with the fourth revolution. We're going to talk about this again. We'll continue. The series continues next week, Tuesday, same time, same space, Super FM. The Harrison is the one that put together. He's the